It's time. You've consumed enough and life just wants you to wake up. This is the true story of how I got stuck in the merry-go-round of spirituality, how I felt I was always missing something, and the final realization that had been right under my nose all along. You see, I was taught meditation as a child, and technically this was the beginning of the seeking, even though I didn't realize it back then. In my 20s, I had an out-of-body experience where I was ill in my room, and I remember walking around the room feeling like it was a dream, but wanting to explore and examine everything in great detail to verify that it wasn't. So I studied the posters in my room, I went up to the keys that were sticking in the door of my room and jangled the keys with my fingers so I could feel them and hear the sound. These are all things that you don't do in a dream, very normal, ordinary, mundane things. But then I looked at my watch. I had a black digital watch at the time, and the time on it said 0000. It wasn't moving, not even the seconds. Then I turned around and looked at my bed, and I saw my body on the bed. I walked over to the body and gave it a gentle push, and then I woke up. Since then, I had numerous experiences and glimpses of my true nature, the fact that I wasn't the body, I wasn't the mind. A Buddhist monk took me under his wing and taught me more advanced methods of meditation, during which I had what I later discovered was a Kundalini awakening, an opening of the crown chakra, or the energy center at the top of the head. Felt like an inrush of information, of stars going into the top of my head. It felt crazy. I didn't know what to make of it. I didn't understand it. And later still, I had a sense, whilst watching my daughter at a swimming lesson, that every single so-called thing was actually made of the same substance, the same underlying reality. The water had the same loving quality as the floor, as the ceiling, as the swimming teacher, as my daughter, as the car when I drove home, as the houses I drove past, as everything. That everything was this one thing, but not really a thing. Everything was love. Everything was oneness. Now, despite these realizations, the mind felt that there was still something missing. You see, the mind always has doubts. It never stops. Even the great Ramana Maharshi said, the mind continues to doubt. So even the mind of the so-called individual Ramana Maharshi had doubts and continued to have doubts after realization. And this is what the mind does. It tells you that you're missing something. It keeps you consuming. Now, I know it's ironic for me to be talking about stopping consumption in a video on YouTube. But hopefully this will illustrate to you that you are already this. That what the mind is telling you is not the truth. And the deepest truth is the awareness which hears these words is you. It has always been you and will always be you. It cannot change, it does not change, and no further consumption will change that reality. And yet the mind continues to play its games. Even though you know at your deepest level that you are not separate, even though you know that thoughts are beyond your control and they come and they go and therefore can't be you, and even though you've sensed or maybe even experienced that there's an existence, an aspect to your reality that goes beyond the body, the mind cannot accept this. Because what you've learned and what you've known is beyond mind. The mind is trying to play catch up. It's trying to understand the rules of the game and how they've changed. But it's not the rules of the game that have changed with what you've learned and what you've experienced. It's the game itself which has completely changed. The game you thought you were in, of being a separate individual in the world, feeling, suffering, desiring things to try and fill a gap, you've already seen through that. But the mind is being left behind. The self that you truly are, which is awareness, is playing hide and seek. If this all that there is, this everything, is the only thing, and it is awareness, why doesn't it already know? Well, this awareness, this source, is like the white light. It's like a beam of white light. The body mind is like a prism, a clear prism. And when this white light, the source, this oneness, this all that there is shone through the prism of the body mind, it gets refracted into a rainbow of experience. Like the experiment, when you shine a white light or the colourless light into a prism, it's divided and separated into all the colours of the rainbow. Now, in this analogy, these colours of the rainbow are what Buddhists refer to as the world of 10,000 things. It's at this point, after the source has gone through the prism of the body-mind, that it is separated out into so-called objects, so-called separate experiences, separate sensations, and separate individuals. But at the deepest level, all these elements of so-called separation are all origin of the same source. But the mind can't see this. The red thought says, I'm not white. I could not be the white light. The blue thought says, I could not be the white light. I'm the blue separated thought. But you, awareness, the same awareness that's hearing these words, is the same awareness that's speaking these words to itself. That awareness already knows. It can't not know itself, because there's no distance from it to itself, and everything is it. So the idea that you're missing something, the idea that you need to have a final breakthrough or a missing piece of the puzzle, is only a thought. And thoughts are not real. The mind is not you. You know this because you can observe thoughts. And if there's a distance between you, the observer, and the object, i.e. the thought, it's clear that that which is observed cannot be you. And thoughts come and go. Sometimes they are here, sometimes they are not. You don't control them. They appear and pop up randomly, and they disappear just as randomly. They're not you. And you already know this. At your deepest level, as you rest in peaceful quiet, you sense that you are infinite. You sense that you are ageless, limitless, beyond the confines of the body and the mind. For a time, I went through a period where the mind would say, you're pretending, claiming that there was a pretense going on of having experienced something, of having had a realization. You're pretending you're the infinite. You're pretending that you're awakened. You're pretending that there is only all that there is. But really, the opposite was true. It was only by giving attention to and listening to the mind that I was pretending that I was not awareness, that I was pretending I was still an individual. The mind will never stop. There's no great aha moment, no amazing release and sigh of relief as the mind calms down permanently. It will always have doubts, but it's not you. You are the awareness. You are the screen. Anything that appears on the screen, whether that's relationships, experiences, perceptions, sensations, thoughts, all of it is not completely real. It has an aspect of the real because its origin is the source, but it's not completely real like the pure, unseparated source. Only awareness is that. And that's what you are. Anything which occurs inside the awareness is not completely real. Only the awareness is real. There's separation and distance between everything else and that awareness. But notice how you cannot observe and study the awareness. It simply is. I am. You can be aware of the awareness. I'm aware that I'm aware. But you can't turn around and look at it. Why? And what does this tell us? It tells us that that's what we are. Because there is no distance between it and what we call I.